Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Nook of the Nook.
Paul.
Thank you, Alfie, for those subs. Yes, man. Yes, man. This is what I'm talking about. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to admit Mr. Gregg Sestero. We're going to get rid of this rubbish at the top of the screen because Greg's coming in on his iPhone. This is the world we live in, right? Where you can make video communication with other sides of the world using a telephone. My God, you're so damn good looking, Gregg. Hey, man, nice to see you. Can you hear us? We can't hear you. You need to change your...
All right.
There you
How about now?
There you are.
Perfect.
Whereabouts are you? I'm imagining it's somewhere very glamorous and movie-based.
How about now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly, yes. He can't hear us.
Okay, how about now? How about now?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yeah.
Beautiful. Whereabouts are you, man? I'm imagining somewhere very glamorous and movie-based.
I'm in Salem, Massachusetts, the home of the witch trials, the Halloween capital of the world, man. We're here to show the new film.
One of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. You must have seen this, Salem's Lot with David Soul. Did you watch that as a kid?
Yeah.
When that vampire comes up at the window. It's terrifying. We have shown the trailer for Miracle Valley a couple of times tonight. I was surprised. This is the first film you've directed.
Yeah, I've wrote and produced Best Friends Volume 1 and Volume 2. I finally got out there and went for it all. Wrote, directed, starred, did the whole thing. So
it looks,
and I love horror movies.
It looks stunning. It looks beautiful. It looks a bit creepy as well. And we've just been talking about, I don't know if you've seen Squid Game, which is very popular over here at the moment, the Korean TV show.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about that and some kind of creepy Japanese films. And Miracle Valley looks like it fits in with that kind of stuff. What can you tell us without blowing the gig? What's going on in there?
I've always been fascinated with cults. And, being part of a cinematic cult like The Room, what draws us in to want to join a cult and be a part of it. And so I researched cults for several years. And I came across this cult in the desert that traffics humans for very, very strange reasons. And I thought, I'm going to move to the desert. I'm going to watch a horror film every single day and figure out, what do I love about this film? Psycho, Hills Have Eyes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I thought, I'm going to try to create something for my love of 70s horror.
Wow.
And give it back to our fans who have supported us all these years, and give them something that's going to really make them laugh, scare them, and hopefully, as Johnny said in The Room, you can laugh, you can cry, you can express yourself. So it's really right along the lines of something, super bizarre, a little bit of Midsummer, a little bit of, Breakdown with Kurt Russell. It's got a little bit of all those films that I loved, and I just, we went out, we made it, and we finished it just in time for the pandemic. So we were able to do post-production and do all that stuff.
I was going to ask. So you shot it and it was all wrapped before the world shut down.
Yeah, just in time, literally like that week, and then we went straight into editing and post-production. So it was quite a wild ride in the past year. I was lucky to be on The Haunting of Bly Manor last year, the Netflix show. I had a cameo. The great director Mike Flanagan had read The Disaster Artist, and he really liked it. He gave me a role up on that show. So last October, it was The Haunting of Bly Manor. This year, it's another horror film. So hopefully that'll be my tradition. Every October, I release a horror film. And I'm working on a UFO abduction movie right now. So, it's all... I'm heading into the bizarre world of filmmaking.
Dude, if you need like 2 radio hosts to be abducted by aliens, me and Kath, that we were made for that role, right? I would love to be anally probed by anybody.
Wow, well, you can do that part. I will try and communicate with him if I can.
Catherine, I've not really asked you about this. Are you a big horror fan?
Yes, I love horror, but I don't like real life horror. So ghost trains and stuff, forget it. I can't stumble around in the dark. I can't. But I love horror films, really love them. And I was going to ask you, Gregg, nowadays we think we know more about the world. Horror is a genre that really kind of thrives, you would think, best in kind of ignorance and in the dark and stuff, but people still have an appetite, don't they, for being terrified. What do you think that is?
They do. There's just something about that adrenaline rush. I know for me, when I saw the Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I was so terrified. I didn't, but I still wanted to watch it, like almost close my eyes, but still see what was going on. And the same goes for Silence of the Lambs. So I think I don't know, our minds love that adrenaline rush of, what's out there. And I think for me, it's funny because you're mentioning radio host. The UFO abduction film is about a radio host who gets drawn into this bizarre UFO abduction story. And, so I gotta study you guys so I can get in character.
Come on, man. We'll come and do a coach. It's tough to get it right. You mentioned Chainsaw Massacre, Tobe Hooper. That's one of my favorite films, partly because it was banned over here for years and years and years. You had to go and buy it like in special shops, would have it under the counter. And I love it, and I think it's so over the top, and it's 25 minutes of screaming with Leatherface. I think it's iconic, and I love it. I went and saw the new Candyman the other day, right? And I hated it. And at the end of it, the last line is, "Tell everyone." And the guy in front of me in the cinema said, "Yeah, tell everyone this film is shit." And it was such a shame because the original Candyman is a work of art, right? And this, it just didn't get it. It's tricky to get right, isn't it? The scare.
It is. And I was fortunate because I was living in the middle of nowhere in this incredible location. So when I was writing the script, I knew what we had access to, and I knew what kind of story we could tell. So I didn't write the script and then have to find all the locations. I knew we had a plethora of just amazing Tarantino-esque grindhouse locations, churches, and all that. So I tailored the scenes to something that I knew we could get and pull off. And I knew the actors we were going to have were, our lead, Rick Edwards. He plays a priest, a biker priest. And, he's just a force of nature. So I knew what he could pull off. And therefore, it was a lot of fun to put our strengths into what we knew we could do. Because you're right. I mean, going out and just making a horror film that, a 70s style horror film that needs, every 10 seconds or 20 seconds, you need a laugh, you need a moment to pay off for it to work. It's really hard to do it blindly. So luckily we knew what we were getting ourselves into in trying to make this film.
Now, if you see me typing away, all I'm doing is I'm tweeting the link to Fright Fest. So it's being shown over here at Fright Fest, which is huge. Mm-hmm. We talk about it, but one of our listeners is a huge fan of Fright Fest. It's being shown, I think, on October the 30th over in London. Are you coming over for that? Are you able to come over for that? I don't know what the rules are.
I'd love to. I love London. I've been over there so many times. I'm, probably going to be doing a Zoom Q&A for them. If obviously if the world's aligned, it'd be awesome to be there in person. But if not, I'll definitely be doing a Zoom Q&A with some of the cast. But Fright Fest is incredible. We're honored to be there. And Halloween's my favorite holiday, and we're getting to show, October 30th. So it's pretty cool.
It's amazing. It's not amazing. There's so much affection for you. And I've spoken to like a few indie cinemas. We had a little cinema club once, and we spoke to a few indie cinemas, and they told us how willing you and Tommy were to come over and talk about a film that, geez, I don't even know how old The Room is now. It's old. And you have cultivated, by being so approachable, this incredible fan base. You have an amazing amount of support for what you do.
Well, it's one of those things. 20 years ago almost now, we made The Room. Wow. And it was a movie I didn't think anybody would ever see. And here we are, 2 decades later, and it's just amazing to see the people being so supportive and coming out, and being inspired by the story. I think at the beginning, it's easy to laugh at and say, oh, the worst movie ever made, the rooftop scene. But, the people have grown with a great affinity for it. And I've met people now who were 12 years old when they watched The Room, which isn't the best idea, but now, they're in their 20s and they're pursuing their dream. And it's like we become a fabric of people's lives through the book. The Disaster Artist it's amazing that 8 years ago today, The Disaster Artist came out, and wow. I still have people talking to me about it, how much they love it, the audiobook. So it's been really a great ride to be a part of this and just have people that appreciate your work. Because at the end of the day, you could make something, put your heart into it. If you have nobody there to watch it or support you, it just goes into the void. So I feel very thankful that we have a crowd and a fan base that supports us. I mean, we need them as much as they need us. So it's great teamwork.
I love how much you clearly still enjoy that association. I was looking at your Twitter feed earlier on, and there are a number of kind of appearances that you do. And generally, when you go up on stage, you hear a chorus of "Oh, hi, Gregg," and you seem to enjoy that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I'm a huge movie fan. I always have been. So, I love Back to the Future. Obviously, that's a much better film than The Room. But if I were lucky enough to meet, Doc Brown, or I'm sure I would be in a similar manner. So I definitely I appreciate that people still love this movie, and it's never been a thing where it's ever bothered me, because I
Right.
think a lot of times when you're starting out, if you're established as an actor, then you have something to lose. But for me, all I had done was retro Puppet Master, and let's be honest, that wasn't breaking any box office records. So I pretty much was, when I did The Room, was completely unknown, and oddly enough, The Room gave me a chance now to try to make films. So I've always been very grateful for the experience, and obviously getting a chance to write The Disaster Artist and have that turned into a great film. So I've just taken what I've been given, and I'm just making the most of it and enjoying the process.
I was surprised to see and delighted to see you're friends with Neil Hamburger, who we love. We have been out for dinner with Neil or Gregg, and we love Neil Hamburger. For those of you watching who don't know, Neil Hamburger is America's entertainer. And boy, oh boy, that's some show if you go and see Neil for the first time. How do you know him?
Yeah, dude, I love Gregg. I sent him a link of Miracle Valley. I sent it to him last summer before we had the score and the color correction, and he, oddly enough, and I shouldn't be surprised, he knew about the original cult of Miracle Valley. He had gone out to the spot that I had been, which I thought nobody else knew about this. Gregg knew about it, and he told me how much he loved the '70s vibe, and it reminded him of all those movies he loved in the '70s. And he gave me some actual material that we sprinkled in,
Right.
some really unique, great footage that we put in Miracle Valley. So Gregg's great. I met him through his wife, who's Australian. They came to a screening in London, and we hit it off. And then I got to go see his show in Soho, and I was like, dude, I'm sold. Gregg is just like, he's so talented in so many different ways, and I'm really glad to know him.
Oh, he's great, and I'm a big fan of him. Of what he does with Tim Heidecker and Decker and all of that stuff kind of has
Totally.
vibes of The Room and stuff like that. And I think the thing about The Room, how amazing creating something that's lasted 20 years and gets more and more popular after 20 years, and there is affection for it. And I think the thing with The Room and The Disaster Artist, first time round is funny, but the more you look into it, it's inspiring. It's actually inspiring that people made this, that it kind of didn't go where they wanted to go, and then it took on a life of its own. And I think that's great. And that 20 years later, you're still out there, you're still working in an industry that tosses people aside, and now you're directing what looks like it's going to be a bloody horrible film, So that's incredible to have sustained that long.
It is. It's really, again, it's The Room has been a gift that has, brought so many people together. And I think, I was a passenger on that project. I survived the making of it. And I think my attitude looking at it as something that was intriguing and fascinating versus being embarrassed of it opened me up to meet more people and more opportunities. And then I thought, hey, The Room is not a movie that's going to get me acting work, but I believe the story behind the making of The Room, my friendship with Tommy, pursuing your dreams, and having this story bookend it, I thought was a great way to tell it. And that's why I wrote The Disaster Artist and thought, hey, if I can get a movie made out of this story, that's great. Then I took the worst movie ever made and made it a positive experience. And I've just continued to look at things that way. And like I said, I mean, it was amazing last year to be on The Haunting of Bly Manor, the #1 show on Netflix, because Mike Flanagan had seen The Room, he loved it, and he read The Disaster Artist and really appreciated it. So it's just been one of the things. I try to just follow my passion and make films, and that's where my focus is, and also having fun with it. I mean, if you're not having fun, then there's no point to be doing any of it.
This is a big thing we're talking about. So Miracle Valley is the new film. If you want to go and see it, review it, it's on at London at Fright Fest, which is great. And they showed like dozens of films, and you can get a ticket for one film. You can get a ticket for the day, ticket for the weekend. It's on, look at this. What perfect scheduling. Saturday, the 30th of October at 11:20 p.m. That is great. What is there a plan after that? Is there going to be distribution? Is it going to be Blu-ray? Is it going to be streamed? Have you thought that far ahead yet?
Yeah, I mean, I really want people to see it in the cinema if it's safe and possible, because really horror comes alive with the crowd, and this movie especially is far out. I mean, it's bonkers. So I really want people to experience it together. So I'm hoping next year we can do a proper release and get people out and have a good time in the cinema.
Gregg, it's so lovely to see you, brother. And I was thrilled when you got in touch asking if you could come on. We're going to keep tweeting we've been posting the link in the chat. We'll tweet the link as well. And wish you the very, very best of success with it. Be safe in Salem, man. There are actual witches there. So just you have your holy water, your cross, all of that stuff.
I know. I asked a few out on a date tonight, so we'll see if they how that works out. But
Fingers
I'm hoping to get in. I'm hoping to get into the witch house, because that's where all the partying happens. You know what I'm saying?
Gregg,
So a documentary about that with Bette Midler. That was a
Yeah. They filmed. Yeah, Hocus Pocus. They filmed here. So
yeah, so good.
I'm just trying to run into her. I haven't seen her yet, but I'll keep you guys posted.
You'll know
Gregg,
when you see it.
it's so lovely to see you, man. Stay safe, and I wish you the best of luck with the film. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on, guys. I really
Pleasure.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Now I've got to remove him without reporting him to Zoom. That's what we don't want to do. He's gone. What a nice man, huh?
I love the fact he's friends with Gregg Turkington.
Gregg, we went out. Remember, we went out for dinner with Gregg Turkington.
What a measured, thoughtful, kind, charming person.
Gregg Turkington. You mentioned someone. He'd have a story. He had a story about going to a party at Mickey Dolenz's house. He was like with someone, and someone said, "Oh, I'm going to Dolenz's house for his birthday. Do you want to come?" Yeah, okay. It was Greg Sestero there. Miracle Valley is the movie. If you are going to Fright Fest and you'd missed that one, put that in your list of films to go and see. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if it's any good. And if you don't go to Fright Fest, just keep it in the back of your head. Maybe you'll see it pop up at a late night screening at the cinema somewhere. I want some of that.
Sounds great.
The Smiths, thank you for resubscribing. 16-month streak. I like it when people are nice like that. And also, here's my tip, dear listener. I wasn't going to mention The Room until right towards the end, because you want to talk about his new movie, and it's interesting when the person you're interviewing feels they have to drop in the thing that they're famous for. And I get it. It's like you'd have a singer on and you'd say, Stephen Page, formerly of Bare Naked Ladies. You kind of have to give a little bit of positioning as to what they were, or what they are, their history. I was quite happy with holding The Room right back till the very end. But that just shows how proud he is of that and The Disaster Artist. I haven't read the book. I need to read the book. I've seen the film. But how proud he is of... I mean, imagine making something that's that popular 20 years later.
Yeah.